Okay, so find your seat, sitting comfortably for a few moments and try to sit upright, but relax, not stiff and tight, not forcing yourself upright. And as I mentioned before to some of you, just this sense that as your hips drop down and back into the chair, so that just starts to gently bring your head up. So trying to come into the upright position without stiffening in your chest, shoulders. And then rubbing your hands together and tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder and your arm. And onto the other side. And onto the upper part of your chest. And down to your belly. And relax. We'll take a bit of a closer look at the posture that we're aiming towards in a few moments, but to start off with, just very gently turning your head. So it should be quite a small movement. You don't want to put any pressure on the side of your neck. Just want to get this feeling almost of the big muscles at the back of your neck being very gently massaged. And as always in Tai Chi, just looking for a nice smooth, steady movement, flowing movement. And then bringing your hands in front of your shoulders, small circles around with your elbows. So again, that same quality of movement in your shoulders, a bit of expansion and contraction in the chest, upper back. Going forwards. And then your hands come down to your sides, elbows just pushed out a little bit. Again, rotating in your shoulders. So I'm feeling the movement all the way down through your arm to your hands and fingers. Raise your hands up and see if you can just go all the way around in a circle with your fingers, still rotating from your shoulders. Not forcing the movement or straining. Rest your hands. See if you can just sit forwards on your chair a little bit, so some of your weight now pressing down through your feet and just rocking forwards and backwards, your pelvis tilting on the chair, bringing your weight forwards, bringing the weight gathering, filling up in your feet, as your shoulders come forwards, and then using your feet to push yourself back into your hips. As you go forwards, a certain amount of pull backwards from your hips, meaning that your back and your spine gently extend out, contracting as you come back in to the upright position. And then turning a little bit, so more of your weight now going into one leg, just seeing if you can recognise the distinctive feelings in each leg. One leg is said to be full, with the weight filling up the leg, the other empty. And then on the other side, turning in your hips, the waist. And then in the forward position, turning, so you bring your weight across to the other leg, rolling back to the hip behind that, turning towards your other hips, and now your weight flowing around in a square shape really, but one which draws your head and shoulders around in a nice smooth circle. And back the other way. Coming back to the central position, bring one foot up, step out, put the heel down, lower the board of your foot, gently press into the floor, planting the foot, extending the leg again, plant. And then plant the foot, roll your weight in, filling the leg up. Make sure that you've got the foot properly on the ground, pressed in, planted, before you commit your weight. And then on the other side, first of all, it's an empty step as we would call it. And then forwards your weight. Switch from side to side, move across through your body, turning slightly. Take your time. One more time. And come back. Now, if you can, without straining in your back, still sitting forwards in your chair. And again, just rocking forwards and backwards a little bit. Just notice the changes in your body. You know, if I were to carry on going back, I don't mean to do this, we'd end up being pulled backwards, wouldn't you? You know, the gravity would pull you back. And even in the upright position, there's still a sense of being pulled back. This is when you're in the chair. You go forwards, and again, you go forwards too far, and eventually get drawn out of the chair. So gravity pulling us down both forwards and backwards, and gradually just begin to make this movement smaller and smaller. So first of all, you get an idea of the range of movement that's possible without that pull becoming a strain. I can still feel it when I'm forwards, but I'm not having to fight against it because I haven't overshot my feet. And as soon as I do this, I'm starting to strain. So this is your general range of movement that you get, stopping before the pull of gravity makes you have to stiffen up. But continuing this process of making the movement smaller and smaller so that you sort of arrive at a central position where any sense of being pulled forwards through your shoulders, gravity pulling on your shoulders, is neutralized by the feeling of gravity pulling on your hips. So you're kind of held between these two movements, the movement of your hips, the movement of your shoulders, or prefer to think of it, the movement through those areas, in the same sort of way that a tent is held by the guy ropes on either side of it. So you come to rest in this sort of fairly central position, in practice with about a third of your weight in your feet. And this is what we call in Tai Chi central equilibrium. And one of the outcomes that we're looking for is to be able to maintain the qualities of this basic posture when we're not actually physically in that point of equilibrium. We're a little bit forwards, backwards, and maybe to the side just a little bit. So there's a kind of range of movement where we can maintain qualities that you get to know them better in your own time, but I would describe as spacious, being in soft tissue like muscles and tendons, is that they're working there, but they're not overworking, they're not beginning to stiffen up. Things like my breathing, circulation can come a bit more freely, and so on and so forth. So when we go forwards a certain amount, and we become very sensitive to how far we can go before we just let the legs and the hips draw us back to the upright position. In practice, most of the exercises we do, we wouldn't go backwards. So we have this nice, smooth, fluid movement because if we take gravity out of the equation of what our body has to do in order to remain upright, because gravity isn't threatening to pull you over, because it would only do that if you move too far. We can begin to just notice the effect that has on the movements that we make, both the bigger movements, which we'll get to in a moment, but also these small subtle changes of expansion and contraction, if you like, the flow of energy through your body. Coming back, your hands drop to your sides, turn them palm forwards again, then rotating your arms as your weight moves. Bird folds its wings. So with this one, your arms maintain this position directly hanging from your shoulders. So as your shoulders move forward, your arms are drawn forward, but they don't go any further than that line. But there's this rotational movement that we did earlier, which means that the combination brings your fingers around in a gentle curve. And then From the forward position this time, leaving your hands facing palm back and back as you settle in your hips. Now you can let your arms swing through it. So it's a gentle curve. Being careful not to overextend your arms. And a good reference point is that feeling of central equilibrium. I can go to here, I can maybe extend a bit more, but at a certain point I feel tissue starting to tighten up, my back starting to tighten. So that then begins to connect with the range of movement that I'm doing. On occasion I might get to here, so I can just begin to get a sense that it's about to tighten up. Maybe I can just release a little bit more, to release some tightness and get a bit more movement that way, if that's what I want to do. But that's different to going forwards and sort of thrusting your arms out. So learning to move with your body, one unit, feet to your head, to your arms and hands. Learning to move with these qualities of central equilibrium that allow space for movement within your body. Both the bigger movements and that more subtle sense of the flow that connects right through your body, this sense of this underlying movement, the energy. One more time going forwards, leaving your arms out at this angle, but as your body comes back, that will draw your fingers over. Imagine there's a ball there, and you're just rolling the ball in towards your body. Going forwards. Try not to pull your belly in, tighten across your chest. And that leaves the space in the front of the body. So as you come back, you get this sense of a rising energy coming up, belly, solar plexus, and chest. Like a wave coming up underneath your arms, pushing them up. But if you tighten anywhere, in the front of your body in particular, then that will block that movement. And this time, as your arms come up, turn them palm in, drawing your elbows apart, pigeon spreads its wings. So even more of a sense of an expansion upwards through your body. At the same time, your ribs sort of flexing and extending, your rib cage extending out and contracting. And your sternum quite soft. So here, ribs open out, and then as you come forward, your sternum draws back, and that helps to bring your arms in. The pigeon spreads its wings. One more time. And then from the forward position, once again your elbows goes out, there's a subtle opening, expansion in your chest, but your hands stay in front of your hips, and then going forwards, pushing weight. So all that sort of movement, all that energy in the previous two exercises, in belly and solar plexus and chest, that rising movement, that expansion and contraction in your chest, is now being transmitted into your arms and your hands, giving them a much denser feeling, but they're not right out there, they're occupying a smaller space. A little bit more focus, a little bit of a stronger feel as you do this. Combining that with the stepping that we did earlier, so let your weight shift to one side, step out and plant the foot and push in. You may find you go a little bit further with the foot extended. Coming back, being careful to place this foot down correctly, planting here, so loose downward push, and then on the other side. Just bring back to mind that feeling of central equilibrium. It's very easy to lose that, to find ourselves tensing up, stiffening in back or shoulders or wherever. Sometimes that's just habitual qualities. It might be that maybe you're too concerned with your arms or moving your arms too much or something like that. Just renewing the intention to maintain central equilibrium. One more on each side. And then back and elbows coming just in front of your hips, rolling your fingers into a loose fist. Loose meaning you should get your fingers comfortably down the middle, palm up, and then your arms extending a little bit as you go forwards, rotating so they'll be palm down. Punch with both fists. So your weight contributes to the punch by moving forwards and backwards. Feeling the energy of that coming up through your back and your spine. One more time, and at the end here, opening your fingers, turn them palm out, wind it out again, chest expanding and contracting, and then finishing with the push forward again. Expanding and contracting. The contraction, pushing your hands forwards, along with your weight, pushing your hands forwards. Here, and with the weight moves, try not to just let it reduce to an upper body movement. Coming back, turning your hands palm down, turn towards one leg, move the weight forwards, extending through your back, the spine, your arms and your fingers, swinging across, and then coming back to the center. Change direction. Polishing the tail. Let's do one more on each side. Again, that gentle extension outwards, and then the contraction. Final time. So, coming back to rest in central equilibrium, feeling the weight of your head gently compressing your spine, your hips, maybe even your legs and feet. And then just feel the counter movement when you reach a point where there's just a natural expansion starts to take place. And then bringing your hands around as though you're cradling a ball here. And as you feel the expansion, let that push your elbows out, draw your hands up, and then turn your hands over, reducing that. So this is called rooting down. Rooting down being the dropping of our centre of gravity. Probably clearer standing, but one thing that we do want to get is that strong sense of dropping, so you feel as though the centre of gravity drops through the chair into the ground. Excuse me. The other aspect of the rooting down here is that as you push up, your hips are pushing down into the chair. So we maintain this connection to the ground. That gives us added stability, helps to stop the accumulation of the weight in our upper body, makes a big contribution towards that internal flow of the energy. A little more subtly is that the downward movement, this is true for the standing version as well when we get to that, actually compresses your body in such a way that it produces the upward movement. And then turning your fingers out, this time that rising energy, pushing your arms out sideways so they swing up. Notice my elbows hanging down just a little bit at the top there. This is the wild goose. As always with the various images and ideas that we use, they're only useful if they're useful, if they actually resonate with you. So if a movement doesn't do that, then we can often find alternative ways of looking at it. It's not a rejection of those images or those ideas, because quite often I've found that an idea is presented, an image is presented, a way of looking at these movements is presented to me, and it doesn't really take hold. But maybe a few months later or sometime later, the meaning of it will start to make itself felt. So you're not just saying, no, I'm going to forget all about that, I'm going to ignore it. But on the other hand, don't think, oh, I've got to feel like a bird, but what do I need to do to feel like a bird? You can focus on that rising, expanding and contracting movement in your body, for instance. Whatever's helpful at the time, whatever helps to bring body and mind and movement, energy into some sort of collective harmony. This time going forward, so you can let your hands drop all the way down, brushing in front of your knees, sit back, push up. This is parting the clouds. And then forwards and down. Remember, feet push in, hips pull in, drawing your upper body to that more upright stance and central equilibrium. And then going forward again. Now let your hands drop down to your sides, focusing on one side this time. Dragon plucks the stars from the sky, pushing up, winding your arm around, pulling down, let your arm come all the way down, and your attention going to the middle of your body and then the opposite side, so the next expansion, extending through the opposite side of your body, back down. Feeling your centre sink into the chair and then feeling the push up. Notice that with this and with none of the movements do I go to a full movement. You always want to feel that you could have moved a little bit further. That way we're more likely to retain that sense of space within our bodies for movement. Okay, now this time let your hand come down, and it's very similar in many ways, bringing your hands to the side of your body, lightly touching the side of your centre, if you bring your hands in that far, and then expanding, pushing up, lengthening through your back, and then contracting. Taking a moment to make that physical contact with the centre part of your body, and then push it out. Pushing in two directions. A good way of just feeling that rhythm of expansion and contraction. And then next time you push out sideways, turning a little bit in your hips and your waist to redirect your arms and back. Coming back and just restoring central equilibrium. And then pushing out again. Coming back, restoring central equilibrium. And maybe the same idea, not just at the end of the contracting movement, but can you begin to feel that here? Can you just feel you're not having to strain as your arms finished the outward movement? One final time, pushing your arms out to the sides, and as you do, extend one foot again. This time rest it on the heel with the knee a little bent, turning your hands palm forwards. Ease forward, letting your weight drop back through your hips, and then your back contracting, drawing you up, expanding in the front of your body. So a combination of factors here, the dropping back of your hips, extension and contraction in your back and spine, that rising expansion up through belly, solar plexus and chest. This is the exercise, scooping the sea, looking at the sky. Now this time again, testing both hands, and as you go forwards, your head projecting upwards this time, drawing your arms over. And again, a rising movement through belly into your chest, and again this sense of the rib cage kind of opening and closing. These all contribute to this movement, which is quite a strong movement, this curving, rising movement. You don't want to put a strain on your shoulders, so we don't want to produce the movement in the shoulders. Movement of your upper body, those patterns of expansion and contraction, providing the energy for grasping the tiger's ears. And then changing over. So that feeling of central equilibrium and sort of moving around that, as it were, in the way that a wheel moves around its hub. These patterns of expansion and contraction, these pathways of movement, of energy flowing through your upper body in particular. Feel it in your legs as well, but probably more likely notice it in your upper body. And then grasping the tiger's ears. Not over emphasizing your arms. Remember, they're moved by all these other combinations of movement working through your upper and lower body. Just encouraging the flow of energy all the way through your body. Now, bring the foot back to this square stance. Still your weight rocking forwards and backwards. Slightly more complicated pattern here. As you go forwards, you turn, so more of your weight once again goes into, in this case, what would be your left leg. Coming back into the opposite hip. Turning, so your weight now moves across to the other hip and then forwards on the diagonal line. Once again into your right foot. Like an X shape with a line underneath it. Feeling that there's change in the emphasis of the movement. We use the image of moving through water, a very common image in Tai Chi for various reasons. Then we could imagine feeling the pressure of the water against particular parts of the body. Here against your left shoulder, for instance, left side. Here against the right side. Here as you go forwards to the left foot. Much more in front of the body, and so on and so forth. Now this time, coming into your right hip, bring your hand, the right hand to hold the top of the ball, level with your shoulders, left hand tucked underneath, going forward into your left leg, and as you do, you turn and you feed the left hand out, push straight down the top hand, parting the wild horse's mane. You come back, drawing your arm across again and hold the ball, move your weight across into your left hip. Same thing on the other side. The name can suggest It's rather beautiful image of a horse running. If you imagine a horse running with its mane and its tail flowing out behind it. They're not actively moving the mane, they're not actively moving the tail, but rather it's the movements in the rest of the body that produce that flowing quality. One more time. And once again, coming back to that central position, Zhongding is the Chinese term. And represented in various ways, but one of my favourite images is of a mountain. You think of a mountain standing up tall, strong, it's a strong image, but also there's a quietness and a stillness about it. There's a spaciousness about it, but also very, very heavy, very strongly rooted on the ground. These are all combinations that we would look for in our own bodies. And then preparing to stand, so rubbing your hands together and once again tapping over your face. Over your head and neck. And to one shoulder, your arm, and on the other side. The upper part of the chest. And the belly. And legs. Pushing your heels up. And then circling around. And back the other way. Okay. Standing, and what we're looking for, once again, is central equilibrium. The structural side of it is going to be slightly different because there's no longer a chair there, but the feel of it, the spaciousness and so on and so forth is going to be the same. So standing with your feet below your hips, so hip width apart, and tilting forwards and backwards as we did in the chair. At this time, the pivot point is from your ankles. And once again, just seeing if you can allow your body to come to rest with neither a sense of being pulled forwards or backwards, but rather everything flowing down into your legs and into the ground. And then as you reach that point, letting the hips drop back a bit more. Your pelvis will tuck under and you push up. Expanding and contracting. So once again, we have that situation where our body, particularly our upper body, is supported by our feet. No chair there this time, so the hips are obviously part of the movement, but they're not really supporting you. It's going to be the feet and the ground beneath your feet, allowing that free flow of movement through your body, contracting and expanding, and coming around with the standing version of rooting down, pushing up. Turn your hands over, let your hips drop. your arms following. Now turn your fingers out, push your arms out for the standing version of the wild goose, and then down, and then letting your hands drop down and parting the clouds. The whole time, these qualities of central equilibrium, the spaciousness, the root, that sense of stillness, of calmness, but also a very dynamic feeling, still present. Final time. Now, turn one foot out, step straight forward with the other foot, keeping the width of your step about the same in length as the width. And once again, your weight moving, this time from foot to foot, and not leaning. So this is all about your legs now. But again, looking to try and maintain those qualities of central equilibrium, ideally the whole time. But if not the whole time, we often sort of lose them for one reason or another. But taking a moment just to settle in each leg, don't hurry to go forwards or backwards there, so that you have a moment or two to just come back to that feeling. The more familiar you are with this, the more that's going to happen. But you still need to make sure that you give yourself time and space for it to happen. At the same time, it also impacts back on your awareness, because it encourages this quality of stillness and calmness. Once again, these different elements of body, mind, intention, awareness, and movement, energy, very much interrelating to each other. Go forwards, push your back knee in so you shift a little bit more over one leg, your front leg, going back, raise your toes, you shift a little bit. So looking to align and to root down to find central equilibrium over one leg now. And then, because central equilibrium means that you're more rooted, you're more stable, taking the step, push out, heel, ball of the foot, plant the foot, press in, move forwards. When you step back, it's the ball of the foot that goes down first, then the heel, then the planting. Taking time before you move your foot to really settle in. You have a sense of what you're looking for, you have a sense of the qualities that you're trying to find. That is helpful. That helps your intention. So try that with your other foot forwards. So whatever you begin to associate in your own practice with this term, central equilibrium, is now a strong intention. It's not just about the technical side of it, that is important. Intention doesn't make you immune to the pull of gravity, but you have a sense of what you're aiming for, or where you're going. And that is really important, that's very useful. raising your toes and your heel. Stepping in. And then you either go forwards or backwards, but step through. And then going back. So, central equilibrium builds up from the ground in the same way that a mountain arises out of the ground. The mountain doesn't sort of like get built from the top downwards. We need to maintain that approach when we bring the arms back into the movement. Have your right foot forwards, mirror my movements. Start with your weight back and fisherman castanet, the standing version. So your weight moves forwards or backwards, your arms follow and swing through, not trying to push your arms through, just letting them swing out naturally and then changing direction. So a lot of this is about where we're putting our attention, and we want to maintain an overview of the body from the soles of our feet right to the crown of our head, to the tips of our fingers, rather than get sort of obsessed with the arms. So very important change of perspective here. And without that change of perspective, it's very hard to maintain the intention and the physical experience of central equilibrium. Coming into your front foot, and as your arms swing through and they rise up a little bit, turning, you redirect your arms. It's just the movement, wind blows to willows. Your arms drop down, you settle into your back foot, and you turn. Body expands, contracts, expands, contracts. Not straining in your shoulders, your back, your chest. So this way you maintain the root, you maintain central equilibrium. So it's not like this, you don't sort of stiffen up. It's very smooth feeling the movement in your shoulders. You'll see why that's important in a few moments. But for now, let's change sides. So from the parallel stance, have your left foot forwards. And once again, fisherman castanet, driven by the weight transfer. And the weight transfer is punctuated with those moments of settling or coming back to central equilibrium. And with that feeling of compression in your leg that then expands. So those moments of settling, those moments of stillness are the required prelude to the movement. And in the end, even that is a slightly fragmentary statement. It's not even a required prelude. It is very much a part of the movement. And then turning to wind blows to willows. I'm going to combine this with the step in that we just did. So you can either go forwards or backwards. I'm going to go forwards, of course, because there's a wall behind me. As you turn, you bring the empty foot in, step through and plant. This is why you don't want to strain in the upper part of your body, because if your shoulders are tight, this can get quite wobbly. And then, if you feel comfortable with this, you can also bring your leg up. This is called dragonfly skims to water. Change direction if you haven't done so already. And then going back to your chair. So one of the things that we can learn in the practice of Tai Chi is how stillness and movement are not opposites. They're not exclusives. That a more sustainable, more fluid movement is enhanced and developed through the stillness, and even that the movement itself and the attention that we bring, the intention we bring to the movement, can actually help to engender a sense of stillness. That isn't to say that there aren't times when we want to be still, when we want to be calm, but even when we're asleep, there's still movement in things like our breathing and so on and so forth. So these things are very much linked. And ideally, they would be in perfect harmony. In practice, we know we very easily lose that stillness. We very easily lose those qualities of central equilibrium, including the quality of movement and spaciousness that we would associate with central equilibrium. And this last exercise is called Embrace Tiger, Return to the Mountain, to bring us back to central equilibrium. So from here, it's your body expanding, arms being pushed out, and then they wrap around as though they're going to hold a ball against your chest, drawing in, letting your hips sink into the chair, feeling your shoulders drop, and your arms coming back down to your sides. And then start the whole cycle again. And just see if you can find what actually brings you back to central equilibrium. How do you experience that in your own body, in your mind? So what would you want to be able to recall the next time you feel a bit unsteady, the next time you feel a bit frustrated, a bit anxious, a bit stressed? What would be most useful for you to recall? And then your hands come to rest. Lovely. As always, thank you very much, everybody. I'm very happy to receive feedback from that. If you have any questions. So, thanks a lot for coming along. Bye for now.